Hello, and welcome back to K-Drama Rants. My name is Melanie, and I like to rant about K-dramas. Today we're talking part 5 of Mr. Sunshine. Last week, Eshin broke up her engagement with Hee-sung to be with Eugene. Dongmae and Hee-sung both have to come to terms with how they're going to handle Eshin choosing Eugene. The Korean peninsula is trying to fight off Japanese invaders, and it is not working. Eshin's grandpa is trying to do something about it, sending out calls to action to what seems like every scholar in the country. Eshin meets with Lady who wants to hear about Eshin's education in English. Meeting with Eshin has convinced her to open up a school for Korean women. They don't talk much. Lady is easily convinced, and Hina is waiting for Eshin at the baker's. Eshin is a little upset that Hina would tell a royal that she's been taking classes, but she's glad to be out of the house. She expected Hina to respond via letter about why Dongmae was at her home, but she'll hear Hina out. Hina tells Eshin the truth. Dongmae had found out about the burned letters, and if Hina had to venture a guess, the only reason Dongmae made the delivery himself was to keep Eshin's grandfather safe. Eugene goes to the palace and trains up a bunch of noblemen who are unused to getting direction. One of the boys from the Young Freedom Fighters tries to choose a rifle to train, but Eugene is going to make them train with a musket. Wanik is pissed to learn that Eugene has been appointed to train the royal army, but there's nothing he can do as the military is under the king's direct jurisdiction. The hits keep coming for him. All of the palace interpreters have been replaced. He goes over to the military academy while they're running drills. He stands in front of their target, so Eugene aims and shoots right next to his head. Eugene dismisses the cadets. Wanik walks over to him, delivers some threats, which is par for the course, and asks him if he is Jongmun's spy. Eugene also delivers some threats. The tension is escalating. Wanik isn't beating around the bush anymore. The Young Freedom Fighter, I'm calling the young men this because they're not in the righteous army, but they are trying to help Chosun. He returns to where Wanik and Eugene are standing. He aims and pretends to shoot at Wanik, real hatred on his face. It's Kwansu's time to deliver intel to Dokmun. He delivers some truly useless news, which makes Dokmun storm off, telling Kwansu to come up with better intel next time. Dongmae and Eugene have both been listening in on this conversation at Dongmae's place. Kwansu hurries off because he enjoyed himself a little too much coming up with lies to tell Dokmun about the US legation. Once he's gone, Dongmae invites Eugene to eat. Now that he knows that Eugene is like him in low birth, he's being kinder to Eugene. Unlike Dongmae though, Eugene has not immediately killed everyone who wronged him as a child. He has choices now. Eugene turns down Dongmae's invitation and leaves. He goes to Hee-sung's mom, who's crying that her son has learned of his family's past. She tells him that she begged him not to tell her son. Eugene didn't really. Hee-sung already knew. He'd been asking questions. Eugene is there to tell her that he will not seek revenge from her or her son, but he will not forgive her. Hee-sung is trying to atone for his family's sin, so Eugene is going to let it go for him. Hee-sung orders a new suit for Eshin at the tailor's. When he returns to his hotel, he reads the marriage letter he never delivered. He's devastated that he will not marry Eshin. He starts sobbing even before reaching the end. God, I love him. Hina breaks her relationship with her fencing instructor now that she knows that he's been talking about her to Miss Kang, the spy she's looking into. He also got a little too frisky during one of their lessons and even reached under her skirts. She sent out a spy to keep an eye on Kang. The spy catches her meeting with Hina's instructor alone, which is enough for Hina. Turns out the instructor is also a spy who's honeypotting Miss Kang to get his hands on a list of all covert officers in Chosun. He wants to give the list to Takashi, the Japanese guy that lived next to Eugene in New York City. Turns out he's a general for Japan. I don't really know his title. Haengnang has found the leak in the Go family household and is unsure how to proceed. Eugene's told him to get rid of him immediately, but Haengnang is concerned that if they were to remove the mole from the home, he'd just sell all the information he has. Eugene tells him, don't worry about that. Don't worry about it. Eugene is back training up the royal military. The freedom fighter boy calls him out for not being a good shot because he missed Wanik, which is The dumbest thing I've ever heard. Eugene proves he can shoot a bullseye and takes the boy into his office. He lets the boy know that he's the man who helped him forge documents to get into the military. Eugene's not going to say anything, and he hopes the boy won't either because he actually wants to mentor the kid. Hee-sung sends a palanquin for Ishin. Haman says something hella annoying about it. She says that a woman in love with another man doesn't deserve love. The f*** you mean? Ishin arrives at the hotel where Hee-sung is waiting for her at the pool table. He makes a deal with her. Whoever wins a game gets a wish from the other. He starts and immediately wins the game without letting Ishin even take a turn. While he's playing, we get this shot of Ishin looking shocked that Hee-sung is actually a fantastic player. I think he let her win last time. I know this woman is canonically sheltered, I know this, but hot dang does it grate my gears every time she acts brand new. Anyway, Hee-sung's wish is to end their engagement. He just brought her there to tell her in person, I guess. They tell each other to be strong. Once the people find out about this, they're going to get a lot of gossip and a lot of hate, especially her. He's so dramatic that once she leaves, he even burns the marriage letter. Lady Cho and Hee-sung's mom meet up. Hee-sung's mom apologizes for the broken marriage. It is low-key kind of her family's fault that it didn't work out, so I'm glad she is. At least she has the decency to feel bad for Ishin. She also shows Lady Cho her scar and makes a vague reference that the scar is the reason for the engagement getting broken. I mean, yeah, if her family had treated Eugene well, Ishin and him would never have met, so she'd stay engaged to Hee-sung. Dong-me hears the news. The people are already running their mouths, coming up with outlandish hypotheses about why the engagement ended. Dong-me's devastated that she's taking another step away from him. Kwon-soo tells Eugene the news over a meal. His version of the gossip is that Hee-sung left Ishin for another woman. And Eugene's like, nah, there will only ever be one woman in his heart. Ask him how he knows. Suddenly, a couple of palace guards aim their guns at Eugene. He's being summoned, and Kwon-soo is giving the same unbothered energy Eugene gave so many moons ago when Kwon-soo was being taken away by the Yakuza. Seung-gu is taken similarly from a meal with Eun-san, where Eun-san tried to get to the bottom of where Seung-gu had disappeared to. But Seung-gu will not spill the tea about his time working for Sahong. Suddenly, for him as well, he's got a bag over his head and he's being taken to Chongmun in the woods. Chongmun has gathered all the men he knows were related to the rifle going missing earlier in the show. He's threatening them in order to get Seung-gu to agree to becoming head of palace security. Seung-gu tries to turn it down at first, but Eugene tells him to take it. He uses the excuse that them not getting punished about the rifle will keep Ishin safe. Sure. The position Seung-gu is being hired for is to escort the king and keep him safe. So Eugene tells Seung-gu not to do it while Eugene is around. He doesn't want to die yet. That was so out of pocket, though. Like, sir, you are literally in the presence of palace guards. Take it easy. You can't make a reference to Seung-gu doing something unsavory quite yet. Eun-san goes to the restaurant lady, Hongpa, to tell her that she should not expect Seung-gu for a while. The two of them wonder what happened to the man that Dong-me threatened to stay out of Hansong. And we see that same man running through the woods. He's running toward something. Dong-me gets his fortune read for the day. It reads death. Hotaru begs him to stay, but Dong-me has to leave. It's the 15th, and he must meet with Ishin. Much to his surprise, Ishin actually shows up. He mentions that she's the talk of the town. She ignores him, hands him the singular coin, and thanks him genuinely for helping her grandfather. She leaves quickly after. Her showing up just to keep her promise is enough to give Dong-me hope for the rest of his life. However much it has left with that stupid reading from Hotaru, we don't know how long he's going to be alive. At the hotel, Hina introduces the gambling ladies to the woman from whom Ishin bought newspapers at the beginning of the show, the peddler. Apparently, she has people in the palace who smuggle out stuff sent to the king and sells it. A bracelet that's supposed to grant the wearer a wish catches Hina's eye, and she purchases it. The Tweedles deliver the poster they made of Hina's mother. She won't be needing them anymore, but she still pays them for the posters and pays them extra for them to burn them. The Tweedles figure out that the image is her mother, so they decide to bathe before burning them in order to do it with respect. Shin goes to the training mountain to ask Seung-gu whether he's doing something for her grandfather. Eugene is waiting for her there, though. Seung-gu is nowhere to be found. He's been going to places hoping to run into her. Shin and Eugene go to target practice where Eugene teases her a little bit. She clearly does not like being teased because she starts ignoring the man as he tells her excitedly about training the royal military. Poor Eugene. Like, he's just trying to tell her about his day, and she's like, f you. The scholars arrive at the go-home. The men want to sacrifice themselves, but Sahong knows he's an old man. The youth should not risk getting arrested. Sahong has the men sign a petition to bring it to their king. They deliver their plea to the king and bow down at the palace doors. None of them is wearing their hats, and they have their hair down. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but it was quite impactful because they're always wearing it with their hair tied up. I think maybe it's supposed to show humility. Minister Hayashi goes to Wanek to tell him to take care of the Sahong situation. Wanek wants to wait. It's not the right time. This infuriates Hayashi. He's going to blame things going awry on Wanek, and he goes the extra mile to tell Wanek that he's not Japanese. It will be easy to pin things on him. The Go family elders arrive at the Go home. Lady Cho and Ishin must go greet them and answer for their grandfather. As Dongme buys some candy, out of nowhere, he's shot by the man he let live who was running in the woods. What a fucking coward. Dongme's one act of mercy comes and bites him in the ass. Somehow, Hee-sung walks past the scene. He tries to call for help, but he's the last person Dongme sees before passing out. Being close to death made him realize that Ishin did thank him genuinely for helping her grandfather earlier. He was afraid for a second that she shot him, but he saw the shooter. It was the man. He let go. The English teacher gets taken from school by Japanese soldiers. She's being arrested for selling Japanese information to the US. Sure. While Go's family berates Lady Cho for not forcing a grown man in a patriarchal society to bend to her will, the Japanese army barges in. They're using the excuse of the English teacher's spying to search Go Sahong's home since Ishin is a student. Eugene shows up to the party and experiences a top 10 anime betrayal. The man who was his neighbor in the US was always a high-ranking member of society in Japan, and his English sucks because he wasn't learning English. He was learning Korean instead so he could work in the Choson colony. Eugene tasks his soldiers with taking Ishin and Haman to the US legation to save them from the Japanese soldiers. As they're preparing to welcome the newly arrived Japanese army to the hotel, Miss Kang tells Hina that Dongme has been shot and taken to the hospital, which is not great for him as the doctor there is in Wanek's pocket. The doctor tries to put him under once he gets there, but Dongme knows who this man is and won't let him. He passes out anyway from the pain of the extractions, but his men are next to him. Ishin's been taken to the legation for her own protection. The Japanese are likely to take her hostage to stop her grandfather, and Eugene assures Ishin that Stella will not be hurt. No one dares get in trouble with the US. I'm pretty sure that the US's biggest bully on the playground reputation didn't really get cemented until after World War II. Obviously, I was not there, and I don't have enough research to say that for certain, but I think that's the case. In any case, Ishin is mostly concerned about the notebook where she practiced English. Haman brought it with them and whips it out. She's like, how could I not take it? Eugene's name is written all over it. She didn't want the Japanese soldiers to find it. Ishin is mortified to learn that she spoke her innermost thoughts for Haman to hear while she was practicing her letters. But Eugene is just like a little kid, excited that the girl he likes writes his name in her notebook. Very cute. Kyle takes Eugene to bring him up to date on the situation. The teacher is fine, and Minister Allen is turning against Japan, finally. Hina marches over to the hospital. Hee-sung is still there outside his door watching over him. Such a good boy. She has everything she needs to force Matsuyama to keep Dongme alive. She can now make forgeries of his autopsies. Matsuyama had intended to ask Wanek whether he should kill Dongme, but now he just can't. He's afraid of Hina now. As he should. Eugene walks home to the hotel. Hee-sung finds him and tells him about Dongme. I think Dongme's brush with death has got Hee-sung thinking about his own mortality because he apologizes to Eugene for what his family did. Like, how many chances does one really have to apologize for something? So he does it immediately. Eugene apologizes in turn about the broken engagement. Hee-sung, the man that he is, tells him not to be sorry. Ishin didn't just do it for Eugene, she's choosing a life of her own, and he supports that! The men walk in just as a fight has broken out between Hina and some drunk soldier who's been sexually harassing her. The duelers have agreed that if the soldier wins, Hina will go up to his room with him. So she wins the sword fight, and the rest of the troops try to gang up on her. This show is really going all in on the Japanese being irredeemable assholes, and I don't blame them, TBH. Takashi calls his men off. He apologizes on his soldiers' behalf. He and his men are there to finish taking over Joseon, not fight women. Eugene and Hee-sung are gobsmacked at their declaration. This is unrelated to anything thus far, but Hina's actress has a burst blood vessel in her eye, and I really truly wonder what happened. Haengdang confronts the mole in the Go family. He decides not to kill the leak and just ejects him and his dad from the house. Ko Sa-hong and the noblemen are still kneeling before the palace, or bowing, I guess. Sa-hong tells Ko-jong to cut off their heads if they're all so wrong. Ko-jong is not present for any of this. He's being informed while he still sits on the throne. Hayashi pulls up to the palace. He and the men on his side try to convince Ko-jong to not let Sa-hong interfere with politics. Ko-jong decides to punish the petitioning men, including Sa-hong. He's so damn scared of the Japanese, I get it. He's gonna lock them up for their own safety, truly. Hee-sung catches this display, so he dashes off to write the news. I was wrong about my timeline, only by a year or two though. It's the 21st of March, 1903. I'm thinking of reading up on this particular period of Korean history and doing a retrospective to compare what they kept or left out. So let me know if you're interested in that. Hee-sung disseminates the news all over Hansong. The freedom fighter boys see this and decide to expedite their plans. We don't yet know what their plans are really, but given that they've chosen to tail Wanek, we have to assume that they want the man dead. On his first day on the job, Sung-gu goes to visit Sa-hong in prison. He's there to bring Sa-hong up to speed on what's going on at home. The Japanese are searching his home and wanting to question Ishin. Sa-hong's only declaration of concern is for Ishin. He does not care about Lady Cho or Es-sun. Sung-gu assures the man that she's somewhere that the Japanese can't invade. At the legation, Eugene tells Ishin about her grandfather getting locked up, but she must not worry, as Sung-gu is visiting him. Sung-gu is presented to Ko-jong. The king immediately realizes that this man is not on his side, but Chong-mun waves it off for him, saying that Sung-gu's just upset because he's friends with Sa-hong, and Ko-jong just locked him up. Ko-jong agrees with Sung-gu. Sa-hong did nothing wrong, but as one man, he can't do much against a whole militaristic imperial country, but he has hopes that his people will rebel as a result. And that they do. They stop accepting Japanese bills at shops, which has everyone gathering around the Japanese legation to get their money converted to real money, as Takashi stops by to grab and question the US teacher. He takes her to dinner at the hotel where Eugene finds them. Her crime, apparently, is that she's been telling the students that Japan is not a better country than Joseon, and no one should interfere with Joseon's sovereignty. Rich, coming from a US American missionary. Takashi lets her go quickly to try to get Eugene to go out for drinks with him, but Eugene has plans to see his girl, so he leaves with the teacher. When he gets to his office, he tells Ishin that he thinks her grandfather was locked up for his own protection, so he's gonna let her go home. Honestly, it was kind of a weird scene. She felt really infantilized. She stopped paying attention to Eugene while he was talking about sending her home in the morning because she was playing with a matryoshka, a Russian nesting doll, that he had in his office. It was so strange. When Eugene gets to the military academy the next morning, he figures out that the boy he forged papers for is definitely doing some unsanctioned activities after class with access to the firearm storage. Dongmae wakes up and the first thing he does is tell Yujo who shot him. The Yakuza go all over town looking for the shooter, but they don't really find him. Eugene goes to Hee-sung. He wants to know if Hee-sung knows anything about Takashi. Turns out Takashi's family is the second most important family in Japan, and they are believers in the subjugation and colonization of Joseon, and that doing that will bring stability to Japan. Meanwhile, Hajashi will return to Japan to bring back a treaty to subjugate Joseon. Wanik tries to warm up to the new Japanese minister by taking him to a Japanese restaurant. Takashi has never known a singular day of being chill, apparently, and makes it clear that he does not care for Wanik. He intends to destroy the Joseon spirit, and Wanik better not get in his way. Wanik figures out that a way to destroy the Joseon spirit would be to kill Sahong while under Joseon custody. He decides to convince Kojong to let the old man go. He doesn't want the people of Joseon to fear Japan. He wants them to fear him, so he must be the one to kill Sahong, and there must not be any doubt about it. Wanik's never seen Sungu in the palace before and inquires about him as he takes Sahong home. Haman is in distress when she sees Sahong get home. He's so weak that she has to brew some medicine for him. Sungu waits for everyone to leave so he can speak to Ishin alone. He can no longer be her teacher. He has nothing more to teach her. This is obviously devastating for Ishin because she no longer has that small taste of freedom that she's gotten used to, like the man who represented that for her. And she can't even return to their training grounds once she grabs anything she's left there. Hina serves Takashi coffee at the hotel. He tells her what he's found out about her, but it's not a lot. So Hina's like, is there not a lot to find about me? Or do I just have more influence than you? Baller. She seems distressed by this whole interaction still because she goes into her room and finds what seems to be some powdered poison. Shin goes to pick up the last of her stuff at the training camp. Instead, she finds Choson soldiers accompanying Wanik and Tokmun. Wanik asks her why she's there, and she responds via Haman that her grandfather is weak and has requested boar meat. This has been her cover story all along. Wanik gets angry that she won't speak to him directly, and she talks through Haman and leaves. As he's stepping out, he starts connecting the dots. Shin is 28 or 29, she's orphaned, and she comes from Japan, where Wanik killed members of the Righteous Army. Suspicious. He realizes that maybe the traitor back in the day gave him fake names, actually, and he realizes this while he's getting acupuncture on his leg. He tells the chief of police to fetch a list of Joseon people who lived in Japan when he killed the Righteous Army people. He wants to catch Shin. Dongmae is up and about. Yay, not dead yet. Yujo does not have more news about the man who shot him. Dongmae gives him instruction to spread the news that he's alive. That'll get the guy out of hiding. He tells Yujo to take Hotaru and feed her. She's been by his side this entire time. Hee-sung then stops by to check in on him. He finally asks the question I've been dying to know the answer to. What's Dongmae's relationship to Hotaru? She's just the woman he lives with. Thanks, Dongmae. Very descriptive. Hee-sung's like, you're married? Dongmae responds that Hee-sung already knows who he loves. Babe, love or even liking someone is not even close to a requirement to getting married, okay? She could be your wife. Anyway, Hee-sung is happy that Dongmae is getting better. No one's told Ishin that Dongmae has been injured. I don't think. I hope she visits him. Hee-sung is invited to Dongmae's business to meet with Takashi. Takashi wants Hee-sung to print pro-Japan articles. Hee-sung is like, nah, babes, I will not do that. He then tries to bribe Hee-sung with money, but alas, Hee-sung is the second richest man in Joseon. He does not need the money. As a final attempt, Takashi brings out his gun. Hee-sung literally laughs in his face. You have nothing to gain in Joseon by killing me. Now, where are the geishas? I'm upset at how much I like Hee-sung. He's a lovable bastard. Eshin can't find her music box. The interpreter from the Japanese legation comes by to tell her that a soldier stole something from her room, presumably the music box, and Takashi would like to return it to her at Glory Hotel. Eshin won't have it. If someone took something from her, they should come by and return it themselves. They should not make her go anywhere. Go and tell Takashi that. The list of all Choson people in Japan gets to the chief of police, who decides to run it past Dongme first. These two men, him and the postmaster, are terrified that he'll use their signature for something, and Dongme realizes that Eshin's dad's name is on the list. Only one of Eugene's students, the troublesome freedom fighter kid, has managed to successfully achieve aiming properly during training, but Eugene won't let him practice with live bullets. He asks if the men have any more questions after the kid asks to use live bullets, and one of them asks, how did Eugene become American if he's from Choson? So he tells the cadets about his lowborn status and adds to it, you can leave if you don't like it. You don't have to be here. No one gets a chance to respond because Takashi has come by. He wants to drink coffee with Eugene, so off to the hotel they go. They don't speak much before Eugene excuses himself. Takashi doesn't let him get very far though. He starts playing the music box. This stops Eugene in his tracks. He pretends to be clueless, but Takashi is convinced that he's given Eshin his music box. He knows that Eugene used to have one like that. Dongme stops Eshin's palanquin. He bids his men take all of her attendants away so he can have some privacy with her. He tries to help her out of the palanquin, but Eshin won't take his hand. He wants her to stop making dangerous choices. Don't aim a gun. Don't learn the foreigner's language. Don't question the world's order. Eshin fires back immediately that she does not regret any of her choices, including saving his life or the ones that led her to get shot by him. Too bad. Dongme is hell-bent on being of use to her, even if it means making an enemy of her. He steps very close to her, reaches for her braid behind her, and cuts off her hair, which is in a very long plait down her back. I think this is supposed to be an act of humiliation, but hot dang, the cultural nuance is super lost on me. Like, I don't really understand why it would be a humiliation ritual, says the woman with earlobe-length hair. Part of me also thinks that Dongme is thinking that if he tanks Eshin's reputation enough, he might have a chance, and she might not be in the public eye, which would stop her from being a target. My man is crying at his own actions, like he did this to himself. She draws his other sword and puts it at his throat. She's like, do you really want to die at my hand? I've put up with so much from you, Dongme. Dongme tells her that it's her own fault for saving him, but Eshin's like, you must think so little of me if you think I'd go back in time and let you suffer as a child. Hina happens to be walking by and manages to talk Eshin down and take her away. She ties Eshin's newly cut hair with the handkerchief Eugene had given her. She then proceeds to chastise Eshin for choosing to pick up a gun instead of living the life that had been laid out for her. Eshin doesn't just take it though and tells her a more polite version of mind your business. Back at the hotel, talking about the music box, it's a good thing that Eugene denied the whole situation because news gets back to Takashi that Eshin denied having it, so their stories match. Eugene makes it to his room, but Sumi follows closely. She wants to tell him that Eshin is paying the debt Sumi was accused of owing for giving Eugene the certificate, and she's only telling Eugene now because Dongme just caught Eshin's hair in Tingoge. Esun learns of the hair situation, and instead of checking in on her cousin, who was publicly humiliated, this bitch goes directly to her grandfather to tell on her. She even made it sound like it was Eshin's will to have this happen. Sahong won't take it though, and yells in her face that she should have gone to her. Sahong goes to Dongme's establishment to take a broom to the man. Eugene catches this beating. He walks in after Sahong leaves to ask him why he cut her hair. So Dongme says that Wonek's been asking questions about her. Unsure again how that answers that question, but okay, Eugene accepts this answer. Hee-sung runs in next to Eugene, and without a word, he punches Dongme straight to the face. Hina sits on her steps, cigarette in hand, and wonders to herself, which of the men in love with Eshin will end up with the most heartbreak? Haman tries to make Eshin feel better about her hair, then her grandfather walks into her room. She's expecting him to be angry or disappointed, but he's just glad that she's not dead, like his children. Tokmun tells Wonik that they have yet to receive news from Japan about the Joseon people living there. And that's enough for Wonik to conclude that there must have been a name on the list that he would have recognized, because that means the list was intercepted. He's not wrong. He asks Tokmun what Eshin's dad's name is, which makes it click for him. Eshin is, in fact, the daughter of the people he killed in Japan. He has coffee with Anpyeong, Hee-sung's dad, at the hotel dining area. The two of them called their respective children to the table, and they're both giving strong teenage angst energy. Wonik wants Hee-sung to marry Hina, and he's enticing Anpyeong to invest in the railway system which Japan is building. Not for nothing, but boy do I miss Seoul's trains. They're so good and clean and on time. Hina stops her father as she leaves. She threatens to poison him the next time he comes. Wonik is unbothered, tells her to poison Takashi instead. He also warns her to stay away from Eshin. He tells her straight up, I killed her parents. Quite shocking for Hina, and Eugene finds her reeling, but she plays it off. He asks her to give him the keys to Takashi's room. She gives him the master key. So he goes rifling and finds a list of names of the people in the Righteous Army and his music box. He leaves everything as undisturbed as he can manage, but tries to memorize the names before Takashi gets to his room. And once he does, he escapes through the window. Takashi enters and sees that something is off and goes downstairs. He catches Eugene coming back in and senses that he's responsible, but he has no evidence. Eugene runs into his room and immediately writes down the names of everyone he remembers on that list. Dongme stands out on his balcony looking at the Jingoge neighborhood. He holds Eshin's hair tied like his life depends on it. He sees his men come running to tell him that Takashi is at his dojo, so Dongme goes to him. When he gets there, Takashi is wearing his boots on the mat. Nasty. He wants to threaten Dongme to make everyone in the neighborhood start accepting Japanese banknotes. And Dongme responds, actually, they can't exchange that for real money, so no. And I better not see you in my neighborhood again without permission. Takashi tries to pull rank because he's above every other Japanese person in Joseon at this time, so Dongme clears it up for him. I'm not loyal to Japan. I'm loyal to the Nushin Society. Takashi tries to aim his gun at Dongme, but is brought to the ground by him before he can finish. And with that, Dongme leaves. Eugene tells Eunsan and the restaurant woman, Hongpa, that the Japanese are on their trail. Eunsan runs away to hide. And Eugene tells the restaurant lady that she should hide too, but she can't. She's waiting for her handsome man. She's not wrong. Sungu is a handsome man. Wonik finds the young guy from the freedom fighters who's tailing him. He's not too mad. He expected the children of the Righteous Army to go after him. He's been a bad guy for a long time, so yeah, kids are going to try to get revenge. And once he's found out, the kid immediately folds. Hina hand-delivers the suit that Hee-sung commissioned for Eshin. He invites her inside his room. He just wants to talk about their parents, trying to set them up. And Hina responds that she wouldn't want to marry a man who makes a suit for another woman. Hee-sung tries to deny it, but he quickly realizes that Hina knows something. Even though she can't train, Eshin practices with the gun she's hidden. She finds a red pinwheel on the wall of her home. She goes to it just as Eugene is arriving next to it. I just don't believe this couple very much. Like, Eugene does get excited every time he sees her, but Eshin is just stoic. Maybe it's to show a comparison between East and West ways of interacting. It doesn't matter, though, because I'm pretty into the historical drama aspect of it anyway, insofar as I can understand it, which is probably not very great. Eugene catches the young cadet trying to break into the firearm storage. The cadet has chosen night with rain to cover his tracks. Eugene helps the kid and follows him to the meeting spot, where his friend who has been found out calls to everyone not to come. Wonik is watching, so Wonik shoots the kid. The other cadet tries to run to him, but Eugene stops him. Brother, your friend just gave up his life to help you. Stay put. They return to the academy where they meet with the other young freedom fighters. Eugene makes them see the light. Don't try to get your revenge now. You're going to end up like that one kid. Wait until you've built up the skills. Wonek's just mildly disappointed that his plan didn't work. He immediately turns to other matters. He explains to Tokmun that he's going to destroy his wife's family by building a train through the go home. Tokmun looks a little shocked. Wonek tells Tokmun to get over it. He'd just be betraying his family. Wonek would be betraying his country. Babe, he'd also be betraying Joseon. Hello? Like, use your brain. Wonek pulls up to the go house with a whole bunch of men with hammers and starts going at it. He doesn't allow them to get very far. He warns Sahong that the next time he shows, the house better be empty. Sahong experienced a cardiac event while watching this happening, but has the wherewithal to tell servants to keep Ishin locked up before she does something rash. Fair enough. Sahong gathers all his tenant farmers and divides the plots of land among all of them, being careful that the railway does not go through them. Tokmun starts beating Esun because she won't leave the house to get a piece of the land that Sahong is letting go of. Turns out Sahong had come by to tell him to take care of his granddaughter now that it seems like his ability to do so could be limited. But Sahong sees Tokmun beating his granddaughter, so he grabs her by the arm and takes her home. The Go family leak goes to Tongme with receipts of Sahong giving funds to the war. I don't think that's actually what it is, but Tongme understood the assignment. He knows that the Go family can't afford having a man willing to sell them out like that, walking around, so he has Yuto kill him where he sits. Sahong summons both Tongme and Eugene. To Dongme, he gives a plot of land to protect Ishin. To Eugene, he gives a plot of land to kill Takashi. Tongme asks why Eugene gets to kill while he only gets to protect. Sahong's reasoning is that Dongme will do anything to protect Ishin, whereas Eugene will not make any mistakes in order to get the job done. Why Takashi and not Wonek? Wonek can die at the hands of a Joseon man, but in order to avoid war between Joseon and Japan, someone else must kill Takashi. Bro, that's so cold. This man is a stone-cold strategist, and he decides to die by suicide that night, leaving behind instructions for his wake. Lady Cho is the one who finds him. Haman then fetches Ishin, who's locked in the shed, to tell her the news. Every single servant is mourning loudly outside his door. Sahong had gone to Ishin in the middle of the night to apologize to her for telling her to die all those months ago. He then gives her a picture of her parents. Not one of him to remember him by. Girl, the way I cried. And on the day of the damn funeral, Ishin was not allowed to participate because she's a woman. Girl, I didn't even like my dad and I was right there in the front row. What the you mean I can't be part of my grandfather's funeral? For some reason, Wonek shows up right before Kojong shows up. Wonek didn't even have the decency to wear mourner's white, but the king did. Kojong even bows at the altar of his dead teacher. Wonek confronts Kojong for bowing to some old man, because what will other nations think of Joseon? Brother, what? And Kojong had it because he grabs Chongmun's riding crop, kinking for a man who's walking. Okay, he could have been holding the king's riding crop because that man was on horseback. That would make more sense, yes. Anyway, the king slaps Wonek in the face with the riding crop and relieves him of his duties. Sungu steps in when Wonek tries to stand again. Finally, Wonek realizes that this is the same boy who shot him at the battle all those years ago from the scar on Sungu's hand. And Sungu's just waiting for a reason to take Wonek out. Later, Wonek blocks the possession of Sahong. He's there to have his men beat Sahong's servants. They are doing such a good job at making me hate this man because holy shit do I hate this man. He doesn't even wait for Sahong's body to be cold before he tears down the rest of the house. Eugene visits the ruins. Lady Cho and Esun are staying with family. Eshin disappeared and hasn't been seen since. Tomi and Sumi discuss the events surrounding Sahong's death on the steps of the hotel. Hina sits with them and asks them what they're talking about. Wonek is evil. She seems surprised that even at their age, They know that to be true. She dismisses them to get back to work, and once they're gone, she bursts into tears. Wanik reports to Takashi. Takashi has nothing but praise for what Wanik's managed to achieve. He plans on taking Isshin at her grandfather's 49-day death anniversary. An armed man points a gun at the restaurant lady, Hongpa, on the riverside. He wants her to take him to the kiln site. She says, "No need for violence, you can just pay for the ride." So she takes him on the boat, and once they reach the deepest part of the river, she drops him on the river and kills him. Once she gets to shore, Takashi and his men are waiting for her, and he shoots her without question, and then beats himself over it because he should have asked her where Isshin was before he killed her. Dongme plans to go to Temulpo Temple for a Sahong service, but the head of the Mushin has other plans. He's in Choson now, and as soon as Dongme sees him, he full body bows before him. He's there to know how far Dongme has gotten in Choson after arriving there with nothing. The passengers on the tram have a very shocking and disturbing trip. Takashi has hung Hongpa off the bridge. The tram goes under, blocking their way. This man doesn't even leave the site. He wants everyone to know. Kyle reports the site to Eugene, and they hurry over. So does Sungu, my poor man. Mourners gather at Temulpo, including Lady Cho and Hisung. As they're leaving, Japanese troops show up. Hisung goes up to them. He learns that they're looking for Isshin and tells the mourners to run when he gives the signal. They all start freaking out proactively, so when they try to run away, the Japanese immediately start shooting. The Japanese kill pretty much every non-show important member of her family right away. Lady Cho uses her archery skills to try to keep them back, but there are too many, and they're all carrying guns. For a brief moment, it looked like Hisong was going to die. The righteous army appears out of nowhere and saves the day. Would have been nice if they had showed up a little earlier, but better late than never, I guess. Back in Hansong, Eugene punches Takashi in the face. It almost starts a shootout that he and Kyle wouldn't be able to win. I guess the fear of the US military is enough to stop the Japanese soldiers from starting a war with the US. Takashi makes it clear, hanging the woman was him asking a question, and Eugene just gave him the answer. Probably about the righteous military and how much Eugene was involved. Sungu gets there and he can barely look at her body. He calls for them to let down her body. She's his wife. I feel so much for that man. On the bridge, Takashi doesn't want to do it, which makes Eugene make up his mind. He is definitely going to kill Takashi. After the bloodshed, the righteous army tells Lady Cho to go to Manchuria. She'll be safe there. She expects Isshin to go with them, but she has things left to do in Choson. She also tells Haman and Hengrang to go with her and take care of her. Isshin then goes to Hisong to say goodbye. She doesn't believe in the power of letters in reference to the newspaper that Hisong is writing, but she believes in Hisong. He tells her to stop by the hotel if she ever needs to. She promises she will, and she leaves. When Takashi and his soldiers make it to the Japanese legation, he kills every man who fought and was defeated on the bridge. He also was defeated technically, but he doesn't want to think about that now, does he? He can't have anyone in his army who's been defeated by the lowly Koreans. Man, Takashi. Dongme eats with the head of Mushin. Takashi shows up late, covered in blood, and the first thing he does is put Dongme in his place. He tells the head of Mushin that Dongme's been shot and makes Dongme serve him a drink. Dongme looked like he might throw the bottle at Takashi's face, but he didn't, and I wish he did. News of the death of all the Japanese soldiers interrupts them. Takashi apologizes to the head of Mushin, as it seems like he's done nothing but let the man down. This is when Dongme realizes that maybe the man he's serving under isn't actually who he wants to serve if he's pro-catching Isshin. Hina manipulates the French fencing teacher to confess romantic feelings for her, while Miss Kang is in the room, hidden. She wants to manipulate Kang in turn to give her the information she passed to the Frenchman. She gives Kang a choice between leaving Joseon and dying right now. Kang confesses everything. Hina does not hold up her end of the bargain, though, and calls in some Japanese goons to take care of this woman. Hina has to verify the woman's story and goes to Wonek's house. The story was that Kang had was wanted to find the names of the spies in Chosun, but she never could get her hands on that. Eshin leaves a red pinwheel for Eugene and coins for Dongme. She's letting them know that she's on a mission and she's leaving. Dongme figures it's because she's going to kill Wonek and won't be around for a long time. So she goes to Wonek's home as the acupuncturist is leaving. The man sees Eshin but keeps walking. Everyone wants him dead. Eshin walks into Wonek's room as he's getting ready to sleep. Eugene, Dongme, and Hina are on their way, but they're too late. Eshin has shot Wonek dead. She's left, but Dongme and Eugene try to figure out who should take the blame as Hina arrives. Dongme tries to protect her eyes. Such a gentleman. Hina tells her rickshaw puller to summon Matsuyama and tell Tweedledum that she needs him. Hina is going to place the blame on Matsuyama. He shows up. Hina points a gun at his head. She tells him to pick something up, and as soon as she figures out that he's right-handed, she shoots him and frames him for Wonek's death. She needed Tweedledum to forge Matsuyama's signature on his last will and testament. Takashi finds Eugene out past curfew. I haven't mentioned curfew because it hasn't really been important other than providing empty streets for sneaking around town, but it sets the scene. He tries to get information about Eshin from Eugene, but Eugene doesn't budge, obviously. When he gets home, Takashi adds Eugene's name on the list of righteous army members. I mean, he's not wrong. Tokmon finds the bodies of Matsuyama and Wonek the next morning. Hisong is already working on another special edition of the newspaper to print Wonek's obituary. The Tweedles are very proud of themselves for forging the will, but the only thing Hisong is worried about is if Eshin is okay. He knows who did it. The Japanese interpreter reports the death to Takashi, who could not give less of a shit about a Joseon man. The chief of police reports to Jongmun, and he also does not care. At the end of the day, no country wants to make itself responsible for him. Elsewhere, two ministry men who are named and shamed by the show talk about how they must always do things one must be proud of to not end up like Wonek. These two men will later be known as part of the 5 Ilsa traders, 5 officials who signed the Japan-Korea Treaty, which would subjugate Korea to Japan. Eugene helps Seunggu bury Hongpa. Seunggu is going through it. He tries to part ways with Eugene so he can kill Takashi and be done with it. I don't blame him at all, but Eugene talks him down because a Chosun man must not kill Takashi. Hina visits her father's home as he's being carted away. Jongmun pulls up because he will make himself responsible for burying the dead man. Hina tells him what she's doing, so he'll give her information on her mother and her mother's whereabouts. Jongmun seems to be tired of stringing her along, I guess, and now that she's a full orphan, he tells her that her mother is dead. He found her at a Catholic village in a different town. He tries to spin keeping this information from her as for her own good, but Hina is not buying it. She vows to kill him. Dongme and Eugene meet up at the post office. They're digging up information on Takashi and whoever his spy might be who was able to get all the righteous army names to him. The rest of Mushin society keeps the postmaster on his knees while the men search. The boys find a telegram that implicates the French fencing instructor as a spy. Eugene takes the Frenchman to Jongmun. He knows the advisor will do some scheming and strategizing in Chosun's favor with the spy. Jongmun goes to Kojong to relay the same message that Eugene told him. Don't give things up even when they take it from you. He wants Kojong to fight even if it doesn't change much. I'm with Jongmun. Even if you're fighting a losing battle, that's the whole point of being leader. You have to go down with the ship. The Japanese find the Frenchman's body in the river. They decide to hang righteous army members upside down to beat information out of them. Takashi sees this torture and smiles. The men won't budge on giving them information, so Takashi kills 2 of them and cripples the rest. Monster. Seunggu and Eugene follow Takashi to the hospital where they kidnap him. They hang him from his arms on the same bridge where he hung Hongpa. Side note, it did take me like half a second to think whether hanged or hung would be the correct word here, but I think hanged is only when they are specifically hanged for execution, not when they're just hanging from something. Anyway, the hullabaloo of Takashi being hung provides the perfect cover for the rest of the righteous army to act now that the Japanese troops are divided between the legation and the bridge. They make sure to kill the rest of the tortured men at the legation, releasing them from their pain, as well as they kill a bunch of other Japanese soldiers. Takashi goes to the palace directly the next morning to blame Sungu. Kojong, much to my surprise, TBH, protects Sungu. He tells the man that Sungu was by his side the whole night. He cautions Takashi against putting up too much of a fuss about this. Kojong may be the king of a weak country, but he can absolutely kill his ass. Sungu asks the king why he protected him. Kojong likens what he did to the Japanese to protecting him, so he's doing what he was tasked to do. Plus, Kojong knows Sungu's history. He feels ashamed by what he did to him and the other prisoners of war back then. He cannot apologize, though. As Sungu can see, even when faced with someone as despicable as Takashi, he must act with dignity. So I think Sungu might put his revenge plans against the king on the back burner after seeing him talk like that. Eugene goes to the bakery and eats my favorite bagel hands down of all time, an Asiago bagel. I'm sure New Yorkers would feel very strongly about what I just said, but I said what I said. I meant it. He's there to ask the baker to tell Ishin that he's waiting to hear from her. The man looks terrified that Eugene knows he's in any way involved with the righteous army, but we don't hear him respond. But Ishin finds him on a walk. I totally forgot that Russia was involved in this conflict at all, and I was hella confused when I saw Cyrillic in the background of a shot of Ishin in her suit. Obviously, the baker got news to her. She's there to tell him to forget about her. He has no option but to anger at that. He feels like he'll die if he can't see her, so don't even start suggesting that. He'll follow her wherever she goes. Plus, she has not repaid him for all the favors he's done for her. She promises to repay him, but she must leave. Ishin packs up for a long journey and includes the music box. Eugene gets back to the hotel. The hotel guests have all been stolen from. Ishin has stolen back the music box from Takashi's room, and Takashi tells him not to worry. He bets that his room is in pristine condition. But Eugene feels like he's lost the most valuable thing of all. Hina suspects Sumi's help to Ishin, so she goes ask Sumi. She doesn't really give a shit. She supports Ishin, but she tells the kid to give her the things that she stole from the other guests. She has to burn them to avoid suspicion. Eugene brings Hina the autopsy report he took from Takashi's hands when they kidnapped him, so she can add it to the burn pile. He's sorry for her loss. Hina expected this. Wanik was so vile, and he's left behind a daughter who can only be ashamed of him. I mean, you could still be a little sad, you know? The young cadets go back to Eugene post-Wanik's death. They want to plan greater revenge for Chosun. Eugene welcomes them back into the fold and has them train with the rest of the royal military. He gives them special lessons, too. The seasons come, the seasons go, and it's winter again. Finally, the boys are able to shoot. It's January of 1904, and Dongme counts the coins from Ishin. She paid for 9 months ahead of time, so she'll probably be gone for 3 more months. We love a man who yearns. Hayashi returns to Joseon. He brings the Korea-Japan Treaty and news of the Russo-Japanese War. The common people of Joseon gather to talk about how the goods they're used to having access to are drying up. The foreigners in Joseon are up and leaving. The Japanese smashed into a Russian ship, so the foreigners are getting out of Dodge before war breaks out. Hisong's newspaper reports the Japanese act of war. Everyone knows what that means. Chosun will be caught in the middle and will suffer for it. Kyle orders Eugene to return home. He himself will be transferred to the U.S. legation in Japan, and the U.S. will send more troops. Eugene obviously does not want to leave without Ishin. Dongme is now being tailed by other members of Mushin. The head is unsure if he's pro-Japan or pro-Joseon, so he's having Dongme watched. The head also wants to take Tongmun down. He's leading the Japanese legation with Hayashi and Takashi's support, which I don't think I understand. Are they saying that Mushin was in control over Japan, taking over Joseon? Meanwhile, Dongmoon is threatening one of the 5 Ulsa traders for signing the treaty. The traders didn't really have much of a choice because Japan puts a katana to their throats to get them to sign. Once the trader is down, Dongmoon finds himself surrounded by Mushin men. Not Dongme's men, though. Dongme concludes that the head of Mushin is there to disappear somebody. Yujo tells him not to worry about it. They should not interfere. It will only get them in trouble. The chief of police crashes the dojo and tells them that Dongmoon was taken. Dongme starts heading out immediately. Yujo tries to stop him, but Dongme feels the need to protect people. Man, Yujo loves that man. I mean, it does mean that if something happens to Dongme, she will not be protected by him. Like, is he just trying to gain her favor? It's very strange. His first stop is to Hina, though. He thinks she'll be in Japanese sights. She briefly debates whether she should just let Dongmoon die because she has a grudge against him, but she calls the palace to get Kojong on the phone. Kojong orders Sungu to help Dongmoon, and that he does. Eunsan gathers the righteous army and asks who'd be willing to help. A man without family volunteers to go into Japan to find Dongmoon, and Eunsan tries to keep Ishin from helping, but she knows a way to get a certificate for funds out of Joseon without being detected. She goes to Eugene. She wants him to take her out of Joseon with him to the US. Poor man is on the verge of tears because she disappeared for 6 months, and now she's back to ask him to take her out of Joseon? And with that, I leave you till the next time with the 6th and final part of Mr. Sunshine. As always, rate and follow the podcast. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Bluesky. I'm not very active on Bluesky. It's at Koreandramarants or KDrama Rants. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye!